Yeah. Hello, my name is Daniel Yoon.
You could be louder.
My name is my name is Daniel Yoon. You can call me Danny, Ilham, or Jose. It's fine with all of those. I want to start off my testimony with talking a little bit about my background. The past 4 years of my life, my relationship with God has been close to non-existent. I won't go into too much detail, but I was making awful decisions with my life. I was skipping a lot of class, and I really had no desire to do anything else for anyone but myself. To be frank, I was the perfect person not to go on this mission trip. For some reason, when I heard about it, I signed up. And the funny thing is, at first when I heard about it, how bad it was going to be, I dropped out right away. I was like, I'm not going on this trip. I messaged the group chat, I was like, guys, I'm out, I'm sitting this one out. And Pastor Song reached out to me and he bought me breakfast. And we talked about a lot of things during our breakfast, but the one thing that stood out was when he asked me, why did I sign up in the first place? And it got me thinking, why did I sign up in the first place? There must have been some reason, right? And this question, I didn't have an answer to at the time. For some reason, all my fears and doubts just kind of like vanished, and I signed up. I was like, you know what, I'm going to commit to this trip, and I'm going to go on. But throughout the whole trip, that question stayed in my head. Why did I go on this trip? Why did I even sign up? And before I knew it, I was already in the Dominican Republic with the other members. Now, the first place we called at was called Bate Fao. The staff at the school was extremely hospitable and very kind to us. Our mornings consisted of construction in the scorching heat, while our afternoons were filled with chaotic VBS and spiritual prayer walks. We saw a lot of sadness and brokenness of the families during our prayer walks. We even had the opportunity to visit a couple local churches, including a slightly terrifying Pentecostal church. The second location we stayed at was called Bate Luisa Rita. Unlike Bate Fao, the church we stayed at was very much more open to the public and gave us little to no privacy. The environment was noticeably worse than the previous Bate, but the generosity and the kindness of the local church leaders made it very easy to forget about the luxuries that we had taken for granted. Here we had no construction, so we had a lot more time to focus on VBS and conduct more prayer walks. We also had a couple days to ourselves where one day we rode on the back of a pickup truck on public roads and we even went to a waterfall. It was one of the most enjoyable and liberating days of my life. Now that was a very oversimplified summary of what we did. If you have any more questions, feel free to come and ask and I'll gladly answer. But the thing is, from this mission trip, like I said, I was struggling with the question, why am I going on this trip? And during the trip I found the answer. He took me to the Dominican Republic to teach me 3 things: unity, a heart for the lost, and proactiveness. Now going into the trip, I barely knew any of the members. But when you're forced to sleep, eat, shower, walk, and even poop with the same people for 11 days straight, you get really close. And it was really fun learning about these little things that made all 9 of us so interesting. For example, I learned to sleep as far away from Pastor Son and Pochino because they snore like crazy. Chris enjoys excruciating hard labor and comes in handy when a tarantula needs to be killed. Yejun is gentle and humbly does whatever he can to help others. In another life, Samanim and I would have been best friends, but for now, I just rely on her cute, romantic, and wild stories of her past. And even though she looks 17, Serenina is a new mentor of mine with a very sincere passion to serve God. Junina is an absolute joy to talk to and share things with, and has an admirable desire to support those surrounding her. And finally, Pastor Brandon, he's just a goofy dude that I could proudly call my pastor, my brother, and my friend. And all jokes aside, we really got close to each other during our stay in the DR. We learned to do things for each other, we learned to be selfless, and we did all things with the same mindset, serving Christ. Now don't get me wrong, it wasn't always easy. We all came from different backgrounds, different perspectives, and different ages. On top of that, some people got hurt, some felt like they were burdens, and often we grumbled. But even in the face of all our differences and discrepancy, God overcame. Through our weakness, God brought us closer to Him and to each other. And I think now we can probably call each other brothers and sisters. I also found myself forming bonds with the native people. The faces of the kids I saw during VBS are still fresh in my mind. I'll never forget the eyes of the children of Batai Fao. These kids who had nothing owned eyes that literally glowed with hope and joy when we played with them. It reminded me that, materialistically speaking, they might have nothing. But that holds absolutely zero significance because the joy from Christ is all we need. It also touched my heart while we conducted prayer walks through the towns. We truly did witness poverty, brokenness, and sickness. But the people didn't complain or moan. Instead, they were bragging that they were joyful because they had been saved by Christ. And often when we ask for prayer requests, they ask that their family or friends be saved as well. I'd forgotten that Jesus didn't spend time with the wealthy, healthy, and the well-off. Rather, he was always serving the weak, the poor, the broken, and the needy. I feel like I got too comfortable with being comfortable back in Ann Arbor. And in the Dominican Republic, God reminded me of my heart should be with these people who need it. And the last thing I want to talk about is this idea that our relationship with God isn't a reactive one, it's a proactive one. What I mean by that is that we can't just sit around and wait for God to do great things in our life. We have to actively seek to be closer with Him and to be more like Christ. It helped me that I had no forms of social media, and I really had no other option but to pray or read scripture. But I generally found myself getting closer to God. And that was one thing I did struggle with, and one of the big factors that contributed to me being so distant from God. I thought that I was way too cool for Jesus, way too cool for church. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There are probably some of you here who are just here to socialize, and I'm not judging. I can relate with you. But the reality is, whether we want to admit it or not, God's love and grace is far better than anything of this world. I'm a living testimony to that. The past 2 weeks in the Dominican Republic provided me more joy and happiness than any other drink, drug, or girl has ever provided me. God used this trip as a turning point in my life, as cliche as that sounds. I truly believe it. It's almost as if He ignited a fire in my heart. Now, I'm not saying I'm some goody two-shoes, holy church-goer all of a sudden. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not who I am. I just happen to have been touched by God's love at His perfect timing. And I'm really blessed for that. This trip has really positively impacted my life, and I'm really grateful for that. I hope that after hearing my testimony, your heart was touched. And if you have even the slightest inclination of going on a mission, I highly recommend it, and I pray that you consider it, because it's truly a blessing, and you won't regret it. Thank you.